welcome to this week's episode of Nerdflix and Chill, brought to you by We the Nerdy. I'm here, of course, with my venerable co-hosts, the one and only Sean Capri, who at this point is so cold he's actually bathing in Tim Hortons coffee, and of course our good friend south of the border, who's apparently not cold at all. Good for you. It's
cold,
David
but
Moore,
I'm not
down
complaining.
There you go.
It's cold. There's snow on the ground, but I went out brisk with a hoodie, my Nintendo World Store hoodie, and a t-shirt and a hat, and I ran to Chipotle and ate a burrito before the show, feeling like full of chorizo. I don't even know if Sean even knows what Chipotle is.
I know what Chipotle is. It sounds like a bad idea for your anus.
Well, it is, because I got extra hot, but that's all right. It'll be extra hot coming out. That's fine.
Oh, just don't eat it. Just don't.
That's an option.
But it's so good going in. Sean, it's so good going in. It has to come out at some point. Sometimes
she said all of that.
There you go.
It's so hot going in. Oh.
That'll be on another podcast we're coming out with called Shitting with Dave later on.
It'll actually happen very abruptly in the middle of this podcast.
It's a mashup. It's a podcast mashup.
If I get up and put my headphones down, everybody knows where I went.
Took
very
us
special
35
event.
seconds to get into poop talk. Congratulations.
We are the classiest podcast on the internet. So I would like to say welcome to you both. As I said, we've got Sean and I here, but again, we brought back the best guest podcast could ask for. It's Dave Moore from dayspace.com. How are you doing, David?
I'm doing great. I'll be all right. I'll make it through the show, I promise.
Excited to be back here for another event. We went and saw Disney's... Is it Disney's Moana? I just assumed it was Disney's Moana.
It is Disney. It's Disney's animation studios, the same ones that would have made all the classics. The ones who made Big Hero 6. No, those aren't the classics. Big Hero 6. Just to confirm, by the classics I mean like Little Mermaid, those classics, Lion King. Same studio, except now they make 3D animated things like Frozen, Big Hero 6, Moana. Obviously they had to take, Frozen and do ice, so now they have to do water. And
yeah, so now we need... Are they just going to remake Aladdin so we can get some desert sands in here? It's going to be great. That is my personal... I'm curious, actually, about that. We have an opportunity because we're going to talk about Moana later today, and we're going to talk about Jurassic Park, which was our 6 Degrees of Chill entry for this week. But we didn't see any new trailers that we haven't covered already in the Rotten Tomatoes game, so we have no trailer talk segment. Usually we prepare something for this segment, but as discussed off-air before this podcast began, preparedness, not a signature trait of this podcast. So I'll ask you guys just off the top. We'll start with you, Sean. We've done Pixar movies in the past. What about those old Disney animated classics? Do you have a favorite Disney movie from when you were a kid?
This is such a hard question, and I feel like no matter what you say, somebody will tell you that it's the wrong answer. I think that I'm going to go with The Lion King, because even after all these years, after so many times of seeing it, when Darth Vader dies in that movie, it still gets to me. That was a more heartbreaking Darth Vader death than the actual Darth Vader death itself. Lion King is and I learned this much later in life than I probably should have. Dave, you probably learned this in film school or way younger, but it's Shakespeare completely ripped off. It's Hamlet or Othello. It's one of those. I think Hamlet. See, I don't even get that straight. That's why you come to this podcast, because you get a whole bunch of mixed facts. But the fact that it's not even like a really original movie, I don't even think matters at all. I just love Lion King so much, Gary. That's my answer.
Fantastic. And Dave, what about you? You have a favorite Disney masterpiece classic?
I'm surprised this didn't come through last week. It's not Lion King, which I won't take from Sean.
Oh, you're wrong.
Lion King is up there with me as a total, but I would say, honest to God, my favorite animated Disney classic is Beauty and the Beast.
That would have been my second one. That would have been next.
Which is why I am so excited for a shot-by-shot remake of the original with live action. That's why I'm excited.
It makes so much sense now, yeah, because I think those are two great choices. I love Beauty and the Beast as well, but I brought it up. It's my go-to reference because Aladdin was my absolute favorite. I feel like
that's
it's
good too.
The most objectively funny of all of them with Robin Williams, and just the comedy in it was plus it's just the right age for me, right? I think we were maybe 10 or 11 when that came out, and I mean, you've got a different reference for sort of kids movies than we do, David, but there's something about things that you just have nostalgia for, and Aladdin was for me the first movie that I watched 100 times, right? Kids do that. They latch on to things and go over and over. And I've done that many times since, and definitely not for kids movies, and definitely not having the excuse of being a child anymore. But Aladdin for me, so I think that's a pretty solid list, though. I can't imagine anybody's complaining.
Lion King and probably the original Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory movie on VHS was probably the most wound VHS in my house.
Nice.
Like, to be completely honest, like, Beauty and the Beast is my favorite looking back, but honestly, probably Lion King got the most plays because I would rewatch Lion King, then watch Lion King 2, despite the fact that it's not a great movie. Like
Lion King and Beauty and the Beast, both probably two of the best musically. Aladdin definitely didn't hold a candle to those two in terms of the songs, right? And it's funny because we're talking about these Disney movies, and it really is a point of reference for me with Moana, which a couple of us just went and saw, because one of the things that made me not as over the moon enthusiastic as I think the Rotten Tomato scores would indicate some people are, is that I didn't think it was on par musically with classics that we remember, like both those entries, Beauty and the Beast and Lion King. Even Little Mermaid has memorable songs in it. Frozen did a better job of musically holding up to the standards that those masterpiece classics has done. So even though I picked Aladdin, which wasn't the strongest musically, I think they're all great choices. Yeah.
How can you talk so ill of Prince Ali, Fabulous He, Ali Ababwa?
It's
strong as 10 regular men, something Ali, Muhammad Ali.
Definitely not Muhammad. And it's got a whole new world in it. So I'm sure there are people
yes!
who doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about.
It is good musically.
I was just trying to say that your guys' choices were, I think, a little bit better musically. I know some friends of ours here in town, David, the local radio station, from 2 to 3 p.m., I think, for some random reason on Tuesday, had an all Disney soundtrack hour by request, and they're actually playing soundtrack classics on the radio.
I used to work in a gas station, third shift, in the middle of the night, and I wasn't allowed to play music. But really? I swear to God.
But you were singing the whole time. You weren't allowed to play music, but they didn't say you couldn't sing music, so you reenacted.
Well, there was that, or what I would do is I knew that no one would ever complain if I was playing Disney soundtracks.
Nice.
So I knew that no one would ever go, God, he was playing offensive rap music all night. Like, no one would ever complain to my boss. So I would sing along to, like, I Just Can't Wait to Be King.
Yeah.
and I knew the whole Frozen soundtrack before I even went into Frozen. Like, that was what made Frozen honestly so enjoyable for that reason, because I knew it.
There's something so amazing of thinking of a gas bar attendant singing just can't wait to be king. Like, just looking out the window dreaming of what's to come next in life.
What pump number is that?
I'm
that's
the
so
red
great
car out there. I'm not going to tell you what pump, and it's too dark for you to see where I am. So, that's a normal thing.
I love those days when you got a chance to get control of something. When you were young, you're at your first job. Usually you're a rookie, right? And even if you are allowed to do something like that, you don't get control over the device. So if it's a music player or a radio station, or in my case, when I was fairly young in my teens, I went to work at a video store, and that was one of the things you got to do, is constantly play movies on the TVs throughout the store. And it was a little indie place. It wasn't a blockbuster or anything like that. So we got a little more leeway than most places, and yet it took me a year before I was allowed to select the movie that we were going to put on to watch while we were working.
I was completely legitimately breaking. If anybody had ever found out, I don't care. It was 7-Eleven. I don't care. No one would care now.
Yeah, they can't come get you now.
Well, no, they can't. And we used to joke because there was no way they were going to fire me because there were only like 4 people who worked there, like total 90% of the time. So like, even if they had found out, nothing would have ever happened.
There you go. Nothing like having job security. Okay, well, with that, like I said, we don't have any trailer talk to talk about today, but we will be getting back into trailer talk hopefully next week if we see some new stuff and get some entries starting to pay off. We've got some serious Oscar fare coming out soon, and some previews that I think Sean and I have gotten our guesses in for the Rotten Tomatoes score. So we should have a December game starting up on next week's show. But I want to get right into this week's new feature that we went and saw, which was, as we've said, the new Disney entry, Moana. It's getting 96% from critics on Rotten Tomatoes and 93% from fans, which I know for me is enough that I didn't want to see this movie. And then when it came up last week and I saw the scores, I thought, okay, I'm going to like this. I really trust the site, right? So the basic gist of the movie, if you didn't go see it or you haven't been inundated with the ads and the trailers, is that 3,000 years ago, the greatest sailors in the world voyaged across the sea, discovering many islands. But then, for a millennium, their voyages stopped because of something done by Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. He stole the heart of the sea or the heart of the mountain from a character in this world, and now our hero, Moana, the princess, although she claims she's not a princess, of her island, is being tasked with going to find Maui, the demigod, played by Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, to restore the heart and bring life back to the islands on the ocean. So a fairly simple, straightforward adventure movie if you really break it down. She gets set on a quest. She needs to find someone, and then they need to go complete that quest. It's kind of like finding a sidekick that's better than you because you can't take care of things on your own. And a simple
sexist.
story, but yeah, well, I didn't mention gender at all. But definitely a simple story that you can build a lot around if, as we talked about with our favorite Disney classics, you do the right things as it pertains to music and comedy and characters and sidekicks, which are a huge thing in these movies, Flounder and whatnot, although we didn't talk about the Little Mermaid in our little list there. So I'm wondering what you thought, David, as the one who went and saw Moana as well, about your general thoughts on the movie.
First of all, let me put this into context for you, because I don't want any of this to come off negative because of my experience in this theater. I went yesterday to see Moana. I had to go to the Regal Cinema, which does not have assigned seating, which does not have the recliners.
Oh, slumming it.
Which is because they were the only ones showing it in a reasonable number of times throughout the day. So I had to go to that theater, which is that's not what I ideally do ever, never. Okay, I get to the ticket lady, the one that charges me absurd amounts of money for movie tickets because that's the world we live in, and apparently her system is down and can't charge me for the tickets. So
free
she
movie.
says, just go. Right. So she says, just go in and go to 13. I'll let them know. Right. Still spend $30 on snacks. Let's just make this clear. For a large popcorn, and 2 drinks, that's $30.
Jesus.
American, might I add.
Oh, that's like $1 million.
It's like 60 Canadian, so that's fine. And I get into the theater, and there's only one other person. There's an older woman and her granddaughter who's like 3 in the theater. That's it. Those are the only people in this theater. That's fine. That's no big deal.
So you went and sat right next to them? You go take the seat right next to them and be like, hey. Look them dead in the eye and go, do you like Disney movies?
Dibs on the armrest.
So no, that's fine. We're watching the movie, and we get into what I would consider the peak like mid song, like the first big song that matters. Not like good way in, right? But not like so far in the big one where she's singing about the ocean.
You know that one.
Yeah, the sound cuts
as one
out.
Does.
What
is with this theater?
This is Regal Cinemas in Crocker Park in Cleveland-ish, Ohio. I'm just gonna call them out. It's their fault. Then the picture goes away and the screen goes black. Because I'm a reasonable human being, I get up out of my seat and go running to customer service. And I mean, this is a distance. This is a big distance-sized hallway. So I'm running down there. I'm out of breath by the time I go there. My movie just turned off, and I'm like probably scaring this girl. She's like, I'll go get a manager. Like I didn't mean to scare her, but that's okay. I did it anyway. like she's looking for a manager, and then she comes back like literally 3 minutes later. It's like, a manager's gonna come to your theater, and I'm like, okay. I go back to the theater. The lights are on at this point now for some reason, and they're like, what's going on? I'm like, they said a manager's coming. He comes in. He's like, yeah. So my system says there's nobody in this movie. So you guys have tickets? Because that's why the thing turned off.
Oh.
So now they're going to backcharge you for the tickets that you didn't pay for so you could restart the
No.
movie. Wow.
No, he actually didn't, thank God. He's like, we're going to give you free passes, which we didn't get. We didn't redeem. I'm never going to the theater ever again. And the ladies in front of the little girl, and they're like, oh, we paid cash. So they had tickets. So he's like, I don't know why it turned off. He's like, well, just so you know, the movie's going to be like wherever like it's playing from this point because I can't rewind. Like, so I just missed the major like mid song. I'm just gonna put that out there.
You missed a chunk of this movie. And
Yeah,
your review is gonna be colored by this experience. Is what you're telling us.
Yes, that's what I want to emphasize here. Before
I had the same experience.
Yeah, but Sean just got pissed and walked out.
Same thing happened to me. I started kicking kids on my way out too. I get violent when I get upset like that. It felt very unfair. So yeah, same thing. Everything Dave said, exact same thing happened to me. $30 American I spent on snacks for no reason.
Wow.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I don't know how that could not color your experience of the movie, but I want to hear, with a chunk missing out of it, what you thought of Moana then.
I thought, for what the quality that Disney has been putting out, meaning Frozen, Big Hero 6, discard Planes because that movie's garbage, forget about that one. Because Disney Studios made that too.
Everybody else did already.
Yeah, we already forgot about that. I don't think it's even up there with the quality of what I would consider Frozen or Big Hero 6.
What?
I think it's enjoyable. I think it's fun. There's only one song that I would say stood out, but obviously I missed the major song, so I missed the Let It Go equivalent.
There you go.
So to be fair, I thought there was one song that stood out to me, and I think, despite the fact that they did, so Frozen did this thing really well, where Disney almost kind of seemed self-aware of what they were doing, right? Literally parroting their standard Disney princess formula. This one felt like they put that too far. So the way that the humor landed for me did not work as well. I think it's a good kid movie. I think it's better than anything it's better than like Minions or like Secret Life of Pets. Like it's a much better movie than like those standard kid affair, probably better than Trolls, which I did not see, right?
Yeah,
but I don't think it's top tier Disney quality. I enjoyed it, and I would go see it. And I think any kid should go see it, but I don't think it's like one of those must-see as an adult Disney classics.
I get what you're saying. And Sean and I have talked about this in the past with stuff that comes out from, say, Pixar or Marvel, where you get put up against the standard of your own previous quality, right? And I see what you're saying, because in this case, we have criticisms for this movie, and I will say I agree with you in the broadest sense, which is this is not a huge win for me, right? I don't see the 93% up on the screen. There's not a ton that's memorable coming out of this. There's not a character that I think is going to become iconic. There's not a song that I think is going to break through like Let It Go did. I think all performances accounted themselves well, but I don't think this is going to be a revelation for the career of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. I think the voice acting by the female lead, Auli Cravalho, is fine, but I don't think she's going to become a star coming out of this. And I absolutely agree with what you're saying in the broad sense, but all that is to say that this is compared to the quality that we're used to seeing from Disney. So it's still better than most. And I have two young nieces. I can definitely see them absolutely loving it. They're not looking at it as a 30-something with a critical eye. They're just wanting to know that there is a princess story about someone going on an adventure, and that the pacing is good and the humor is there and the songs are okay I think that's going to be enough to get the kids into the theater. So we talk about this, Sean and I do all the time, about Rotten Tomatoes being an aggregator and people just have to have generally positive feelings about this movie. I think I'm like you. I have a generally positive feeling about it. I just wanted to come here, especially knowing Sean hadn't had a chance to see it, to say to you, Sean, here's why you should.
Yeah.
Or here's why you were right and why you don't need to bother going. And unfortunately, I think this is damning it with faint praise. I don't have either of those. I can't tell you made a great decision, and you should feel lucky that David and I had to sit through this.
Yeah.
Right? And I can't tell you that you missed out, and you should go catch up on this movie that's in 90/90 on Rotten Tomatoes, because there's just not a lot to jump off the screen.
That's really disappointing. Like, it's like when we did our guesses for the Rotten Tomatoes guessing game for the trailer talk stuff, like I looked at that trailer thinking this is going to be phenomenal. And really the only reason I missed it is because I was in New York, and then we just sort of had we missed last week. And so I probably should have seen this movie. I was definitely looking forward to it. It looks colorful. I love The Rock. It looks original. I just don't understand, like, what they miss. Like, is there anything in particular to you that, like, just, or was it just flat? I guess I could see that this is like a safe type of movie and there's nothing really, like, no one-liners, no song. What's the whole, I'm gonna boil it down to this. What's the whole princess angle? Is it, because that sounds confusing to me, not having seen it. I don't understand. So Moana, are they trying to make her a princess by saying that she's not a princess? Like, by saying that she's not, it's like, now you're thinking about it?
I'll answer that just to throw it back to David and get back into that, because he brought up a good point that meshes with what you just said, and we can bring this all together. So, Moana is the daughter of the chief of an island, right? So technically a princess in the way that we know that to be true.
Yeah.
Who gets selected by one of her sidekick characters, in this case, literally the ocean. They've personified the ocean as a character that communicates with Moana and sends her on this mission and helps her along her way. And I think this is one of the things that David said that really resonated with me, which was there's just nothing there similar to like an Olaf or anything like that, like a sidekick character to engage you with any of that. And then he mentioned, David did, the sort of taking the self-referential, it's a princess movie, but we're not a princess movie. You love Disney movies, and we're going to mess with the tropes.
Mm-hmm.
They took it too far by actually having The Rock at one point reference, like, you're a princess, you're the daughter of a chief, you've got an animal sidekick, that makes you a princess, and this is a princess adventure, right? And they actually call it out, and I agree with David that didn't ring true. So as a way to bring this back towards a review, I'm curious what you thought, David, of exactly that. Not just her framing as the non-princess character, if you'll allow me that horrible use of language, but the whole team, let's call it that, the menagerie around her. You're used to, in these movies, having the main character surrounded by a cast of lovable characters that can get turned into toys and merchandised and remembered. In this case, we get the ocean, we get an adorable animated baby pig that does not leave the island and come on the adventure. We get.
I love the baby pig.
Of course, he's super adorable, right? You get a special education chicken who accidentally ends up on the adventure. I'm not even supposed to be here today. Yeah, Sean, I'll leave that one hanging out there, right? That's this whole thing, right? Like, it just, and then you have her grandmother, who's like the local town quirk, and at a certain point, I can give this spoiler because it doesn't have to do anything with the plot of the movie, returns later in Star Wars Force Ghost.
I was going to say Obi-Wan. I was going to say, help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi.
So for people like Sean who haven't seen the movie, just can you speak to that aspect of it? Is that one of the reasons why it didn't really break through and have you thinking of it as something that was terrific?
So while you were talking, I was looking up what I consider another animated movie of of standard quality, just the Rotten Tomato score, just to balance this out here, right? So like Despicable Me, which I think is a great kids movie developed by a different studio, which has a great story and has a lot of heart, is sitting around like high 70s, right? This is sitting at 93. If I were to place it myself, I would place it in the mid to high 80s. So it's a good movie, but it's not of the standard. And I don't know if I love the cast of characters as much, I think one thing they did very well was the placement of Maui versus her, to put her in a clearer, like, hero-based role, more than saying, like, the big powerful demigod is the hero, right? They broke that formula well, the same way that Frozen broke, like, the princess molding, like, needs a lover, mold.
Yes.
But they did not balance the I'm not a princess mold, if that makes any sense.
Do you think they broke the heterosexual mold too? There's talk about her being a,
Let's be honest. I don't think that there's any hints there that I picked up as a viewer of the movie, right? But I think what Dave's talking about...
I think what everybody's wondering is, when are we going to finally get a lesbian princess in a Disney movie?
Oh, it's coming at a certain point. It's just going to be live action. Maybe that'll be the...
new Beauty and the Beast.
Beauty and the Beast, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the twist is the Beast is actually, like, Rosie O'Donnell.
More in a human form?
Yeah.
Like
at the very end, when the curse curse is lifted, and the animals. Yeah, you get it. You guys get it.
Cox from Orange is the New Black.
Oh my god! I don't know if that counts. No, I think it does.
So, just to wrap up the Moana discussion, I think we're saying the same things here. Is that just like, I agree with you? It's good without being great at any point. I wanted to ask you, Sean.
Yeah. That's me.
Just as the person who didn't see the movie,
I'm
curious where you were sitting. Like you say, you told me you should have seen this movie in your own mind.
Yeah.
Is there anything we could have said that you thought we might have said that could have gotten you to run out and go see the movie retroactively? Had we said
yes,
The
there
Rock
is.
was transcendent and hilarious?
Yes.
Is that what it is? Is The Rock's performance?
That I was so curious. That was the hook for me, was just seeing The Rock sort of like animated, and I want to see him in pretty much like, he's having a banner year where everybody else is dying. The Rock is just climbing. He's just amazing. I wanted to see him voice act the crap out of this, and I guess maybe sing too. Like, is he actually singing in the songs? That's him.
I will say this. My favorite song in the movie was his song.
Yeah.
Does he do the eyebrow?
You know what? I don't think he did.
No,
I
don't. I didn't notice it. Although I lost 3 minutes of the movie.
There you go. Yeah. So it's actually got a weird structure with them putting The Rock out there, and the Maui character out in the advertisement so much, even though it's titled Moana, is that he doesn't show up till about a third of the way into the movie, right? And he doesn't immediately come off as likable. He's supposed to be a flawed character, right? And he gets to do a lot of work in terms of giving you that charm that he's known for, even in animated form. So he's got some funny lines. His characterization, like David said, the dynamic he has when it's him and Moana on screen together is actually very, very good, and probably the most compelling part of the movie. But like I said, I wish I could give you that, Sean, as the one who hadn't seen it, and the people out there listening who didn't go see it, and to get them out to the theaters, and I just can't. There's nothing substantial enough to drive you out there, I don't think. It was just a pleasant a day out at the movies without being anything transcendent.
So 5 out of 5 stars, Gary.
If I had to put it in number form, I would give Moana a very safe 3 out of 5.
Gotcha. Dave?
We don't like fractions here, right? That's
you can do half stars. You can do half stars. Just none of this pie business.
Then I'm giving it 3.5 stars.
I give it pie stars.
Yeah, exactly.
3.14.
Understandable, right? And I think that's everything that we said was pointing in that direction. So it would have been hilarious if we did all that talking and someone said 5 or
5 out of 5.
3 from myself, 3.5 from David over there. Like I say, if you were gonna go see Moana, I don't think we intended to or did talk you out of it. So go ahead. We're not trying to drive you away from it, but just nothing that great.
If you have children, this is one of the. If you have children, it's go to Trolls or this. Take them to this.
Yeah,
that's what I'm gonna say. Right? If you're an adult, if you love Disney, go if you could live without it in your life, then you'll be fine. Don't go. That's fine. That's what I would say.
There you go. I appreciate that because I think there's people who think exactly that. Because we've actually talked about a kids movie. I just realized when you said that, David, for the last 15, 20 minutes without discussing it from a kid's perspective. Because I do think, just before we wrap up this segment, we should make a note of the fact that all of this is to say that it is crushing at the box office. It is going to crush in terms of toys and gifts, and kids are going to latch onto this. It is going to be 80% of what Frozen was. It is going to be on TVs for the next year.
Kids are going to want tattoos.
That's what I was just going to say.
There's a good chance you're absolutely right about that, too.
Yeah, I mean it.
So now, of course, it's time for everybody's favorite part of the show. It's this week's 6 Degrees of Chill segment. We're going to talk about a movie from our DVD collection or from Netflix or from an on-demand service if you demanded it. We're going to talk about a movie that was recommended by you, the fans, based off entries that are connected from last week's. And this week's episode, we went back and watched the original Jurassic Park. What can you tell us about it, Sean?
Holy crap, Jurassic Park is one of the greatest movies ever made. It is very old. It is older than Dave, I think. This movie came out June 11th, 1993. Directed by the Steven... Stop interrupting, Dave! God damn it! Directed by Steven Spielberg. Starring Sam Neill, Jeff Goldblum, Laura Dern, Richard, or Dick as he liked to be called, Attenborough, Samuel L. Jackson, Wayne Knight, and it was written by the Michael Crichton. Gary, this movie ran on a budget of $63 million and worldwide grossing $1 billion with a B billion dollars. That's incredible.
Amazing.
3 Oscars: Best Sound, Best Effects, Sound Effects Editing, and Best Effects Visual Effects. And I think that those are well deserved because watching this I watched it on regular DVD on 480p. Still holds up. Some scenes definitely more than others, but that's kind of the technical parts of this movie. One of the best movies ever made. Gary, what did you think?
I gotta say, I agree with the general sentiment on this movie is an absolute classic. 93% on Rotten Tomatoes, 91 from fans, and I like to get at the beginning of this segment so you all know where we're coming from as we discuss this movie. If we have to criticize it, you know our opinion of the movie ahead of time. I give this movie an unexpected 5 out of 5.
Yeah.
I had so much fun watching this movie. I had forgotten how much awe and wonder it inspired when you watch it, as I did. I had a rare opportunity to turn on the home theater system, turn off the lights, and try and recreate the theater experience. And I think you can't say enough about a movie that completely pulls you in, especially in this movie with sort of an unbelievable, fantastical element to pull you in and take you along for a ride like this. There's a reason it's such a classic. So 5 out of 5 for me. What about you, David?
First of all, let me clarify that I was born April 3rd, 1992.
So respect the game.
All right.
So
well, I'm way out of line then. I apologize. Sorry about that.
I was alive when this came out.
All
and
right.
honestly, if anything this movie did for my childhood is like growing up, like dinosaurs toys were like all the rage, and Jurassic Park is what is to blame for that. To be completely honest, love dinosaur toys because of that. I enjoyed it a lot. I've seen it multiple times in my lifetime, of course. One, my dad growing up like demanded that I had seen certain movies like Star Wars, like Jurassic Park, right?
Yeah.
So I had seen it as a kid. I rewatched it like probably like whatever before Jurassic World came out. God, why did I do that? And why did I go to Jurassic World? I'm not really sure.
Yes.
I'm not sure what inspired that, but that was a mistake.
Finally.
And I know, Sean. People tell me that Jurassic World was amazing, and I don't understand.
I boycotted it.
I literally can't. I can't even understand it. If I'm to give it a star rating, though, I'm gonna give it like a 4.5. It doesn't pull me in quite as dramatically as Gary says it does. Not that that's to unenjoy it. Obviously, I like it better than Moana. But I think parts of the pacing for me, growing up with fast cutting and nonsense that is not necessarily good, I think parts of it lose my attention just a little bit. Now, I didn't shut all the lights off and do home theater, so maybe I need to do that again. And I watched it in iTunes, so I don't know if that was like stretched 720p or I don't even know what I was getting. But there's like 45 minutes of documentary stuff, and I love that stuff, so I'll probably watch that like tonight.
Okay,
Awesome.
so I will give the correct score. I will give the correct score. It is a 6 out of 5. Actually, I won't break the rules. This is a textbook 5 out of 5 movie. This is about as close to perfection as I will ever consider a movie. You guys know, I don't believe there is a perfect movie. This is the type of movie that gets me rambling like this, so just bear with me for a second. The music is on point. The theme song for this is perfect. The visual effects hold up all these years later. Dave's almost entire lifetime has gone by, and I don't know if we've ever seen a movie since then with visuals that hold up for this long so well. It was one of the last examples where we see animatronics used in a movie so perfectly well. It hits a point, when you talk about pacing, there hits a point in this movie where it just does not let up. And every scene has you going, oh, this is an amazing scene, and that gets to the next one, and oh, this is an amazing scene. They electrocute a 10-year-old in this movie. They chomp a lawyer in half and spit his guts out. They have velociraptors chasing around a brother and sister. They have Jeff Goldblum, who gets paralyzed or something, and he's bare-chested throughout most of this movie. They introduce chaos theory. They talk about the butterfly effect. They have a mosquito that delivers the DNA of ancient dinosaurs, and it all makes sense. Steven Spielberg is the master of delivering like one line that explains something that has you go, I buy it. They talk about Newman in this movie says something to the effect of, I alone am the reason that this whole setup is done by 2 or 3 people. You would imagine, if you're a rational person, that Jurassic Park would have to be run by a team of people. And in one line they say, it's all because Newman is smart, but he's a jackass. So you totally accept it. There's the whole Newman scene. I'm all over the place, but this movie is exceptional. It's special. There's no way on earth a 4.5 is nearly high enough. That's just my brief thoughts. 5 out of 5.
I'm only giving it a half a star off for some of the earlier and the build up that it takes to get to the crucial parts. Basically, from the minute like they get in the electric cars, or like really once the helicopter lands in Jurassic Park.
Oh,
right?
But that moment when they fly up to the island. Oh,
like I don't need them to whack a 93 computer while they're digging up fossils to make it work, and then like make a thing about, oh, they touched it so the screen flickered thing. Like, I don't need this.
They were advanced. They had 95 at least.
Yeah. So the laying of the groundwork, which is something that brings me to the first thing I wrote down about this movie I want to ask you guys about.
Yeah.
So, less about a specific scene. The first note I made was just to say that I think a lot of the universal popularity of this movie, the accessibility that I'm talking about, where it's almost universally respected, if not loved, comes from the fact that the plausibility of the faux science that they use. The whole mosquito in amber, DNA strand, blood. You're right, David. It's a little bit of a slow burn, but I think it's necessary to make what you're about to see plausible in the theater goer's mind. So, as a way of turning it into a question for you guys, we'll start with Sean. Can you imagine for a second, would you like this movie as much? Would you be able to get along if they skipped that whole section? If the movie opened with a helicopter landing on the island? Not
at all, and I'll tell you why. I feel like that's Jurassic Park 2, where they just skip all of the groundwork and they just go to the dinosaurs. Like, the magic of this movie isn't necessarily just the fact that it's a whole bunch of dinosaurs running around. It is that very sort of complicated idea of taking DNA to clone an animal, and especially back then when like we were basically just discovering what this stuff was. O.J. Simpson would discover what DNA was just a few years later. Like this was a very novel concept, and Steven Spielberg always presents universal themes and complex ideas. And you guys are just realizing what I just said, aren't you?
Yeah, it took me a second. I was like, oh.
Well, I was with you.
Yep. He realized that, you know what, this movie actually, you guys might not realize this, but murder rates everywhere went down immediately after this movie because they said, what is that DNA? You can do what with it? And I leave it everywhere. It's in my mouth. So this movie, no, I don't think that this movie would have been nearly as powerful, but I was surprised. I did make a note that I was surprised at how long it did take, but I don't mark that as a negative. It was just, I remember getting to the island a little bit quicker. I remember the theme song maybe coming a little bit sooner, but I was glad to kind of get to know these characters just in their main habitat, their day-to-day lives, and then they get whisked away. We get to know a lot of the motivations where Richard Attenborough's character wants them to sign off on the island, and the idea that this is a theme park is, it kind of comes and goes throughout the movie. You know that that's what it is, but ultimately the beginning sets up like why everybody is there, and then the journey that they take through the movie where they're not going to do that at all. Like everybody kind of flips what you expect them to do or what they've been brought there to do, and it's an understated part of the movie, but a part that I loved tremendously, Gary.
So did he sell you, David, or would you still like to see the version of this movie where they get straight to the action and make it more of a heart-thumping adventure right off the bat?
Look, I'm not saying cut out any of the faux science. I'm not saying cut out even the explanation for why they're there. What I'm saying is to pick up the pace, like for him to so like no,
that's fair.
Let me put this into perspective.
Defend yourself, damn it.
The guy could land on their site way quicker. They're what is it? God, what archaeology site?
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
He can land, get them to sign up the island, and then we could take off, go to the island, land, see the dinosaurs, watch the film, and then get in the electric cars. And like that did not have to take like 45 minutes.
Yeah. Okay. So does that include for you the animated DNA presentation?
You could have put the DNA animated presentation as the first thing in the film.
Yeah, you know what? That might have worked if you did that as a pre-title opening, where it almost feels like that educational video you'd watch in elementary school science class before the credits, and that might have made a really interesting choice.
I'm just gonna recut it and put it on YouTube.
I don't like where this is going at all.
I like it. I want to see this version. I think it'd be cool. Like I think the movie's perfect, but I don't mind the idea of trying new things, and that actually sounds pretty cool to me. Where you open with that DNA explanation, which includes the Amber explanation. You can take out the lawyer showing up in Guadalajara or wherever the hell they were mining Amber. Like the lawyer needs to be there, but I understand the purpose of the lawyer without that explanation. All I need to know is that he's a lawyer. Yeah, for sure. No, and like I say, you're convincing me that whole scene can get cut, because if you open with the animated sequence, you don't need the archaeological dig and the mustachioed miner. Yeah. Talking like he's a digger. He's a digger. Like it just he was such a racist trope, that guy, right? And it's just like I've got a sweaty brow and a down home way of talking about things. I bring it to you straight. I'm not saying it would be better. I'm just saying it's a possibility. Right? Now I want to see your YouTube cut. So we go from all this precursor stuff that we're taking up, and we land on the island, right? Mm-hmm. And when I talked about being surprised by how much I enjoyed this movie and how engaging it was for me, I think I'm mostly talking about what I felt when you see Sam Neill's and Laura Dern's reaction to the first brontosaurus that they see. Yes! Like the awe that they show, and when the camera turns in that iconic second music, because there's the theme music and then there's the score or the tune that we all know, and they're sort of separate. Mm-hmm. And that the music hits their reaction comes, the camera turns.
Oh, it gives me
and
chills.
You see that, like I say, that CGI that still holds up, and
Yep.
it absolutely does give you chills.
Because I'm calling it the Brontosaurus theme song. There's a Jurassic Park theme song, which is when you open the gates, and then the Brontosaurus theme, which is the one that just gets you right, like gets you your hair on your hands and your arms sticking on end. And that's the John Williams music that I'm disappointed that nobody sort of seemed to connect to something else for our future 6 Degrees of Chill. But Dave, I'm sorry, I was cutting you off there.
No, the way. The build up to seeing that first dinosaur is brilliantly executed. That pacing is flawless. And I will give it that. And
it's a serene animal. Like what a choice by Steven Spielberg to show that as our first one. We don't see a flashy Tyrannosaurus Rex, I think is what it's called. We don't see like any of those big. It's a peaceful animal, and just it allows you to show the archaeologists love and adoration, and just them being unbelieved, or they can't believe what they're seeing. I think that was a smart choice. It could have gone anywhere else. In that moment,
it makes me want to go back and analyze Jurassic World to figure out why I think that movie is garbage, because I feel like it opens with like some stupid raptor scene. Now that I think about it,
they all do.
Like that is, yeah, but like the way that Jurassic World does like tamers, and the scale is absurd, and oh god, I don't even want to get into it. But the point is I think they treat the dinosaurs like they even take care of that sick dinosaur, right? Mm-hmm. Like the proof that the woman literally sticks her hands in a giant pile of shit, like the amount of attention to developing these characters and their concern, right, is why that moment is so successful. Versus
and the T-Rex shit pile that you brought up, I think is such a great metaphor.
Triceratops.
A Triceratops shit pile. Such a great way to show the reverence with which these people hold these animals, right? Their love and their connection to these animals.
Yeah, and did you notice that? So she's wearing the whole arm condom.
I love that scene as well.
Sorry, she's wearing the arm condom to stick in. She's protecting herself from it, and then when she takes her hand out, she's wearing shorts, and she rests her now shit-covered arm. She rested on her knee, and I'm like, what are you doing? Get a little at least get a handy wipe or something. Get a little Lysol wipe on that kneecap, because that's dino poop. The dino diarrhea is not good to have on the kneecap. Scary.
So I feel like the next section of the movie right after that is the part that's most forgettable for me, right?
Yeah.
We're introducing the kids, we're going out into the park, we're starting to see the raptor feeding, we see the attempted T-Rex baiting with the goat, right? We see a bunch of nothing and a bunch of slow burn, and then at a certain point it definitely makes a tonal shift into an adventure movie, into almost a horror movie.
Almost horror, totally.
At certain aspects. Once we get to the raptors getting loose, it becomes a horror movie.
Yep.
Right? But I feel like the tone will shift when the rain starts falling, and really when that little peacock dinosaur spits acid into Newman's face. That's really when it's almost like a starting gun for a new type of movie. I wonder if you guys felt the same way, that you almost have this thing split into halves, where it's like, look at this great idea, and we're exploring it, and here's the science, and here's the people who would do it, and here's the people who would go, and the people who would care, and now watch us fuck it all up. Like, everything's gonna go wrong. It's gonna be awesome, right?
I did feel that shift.
Now, we're starting up the motor.
Yeah, I did feel that shift, and it reminded me that I was not allowed to see this movie in the theaters at all, and actually I feel like almost for good reason. The cool kids were allowed to see this, like Chelsea was allowed to see this. She was cooler than I was at the time. But I remember hearing about this lawyer scene and all the dino damage that happens, all the blood and the guts. I remember hearing all these different stories of people throwing up in the theater. These are rumors that would happen back in the 90s of movies that you didn't really see. And I was remembering all of that in this second part of the movie and going, this is a little violent. Like, it's amazing that this is pitched as a family movie, but you're right, there's definitely like a a hunter-killer type of aspect that comes in with the velociraptors. The T-Rex scenes are terrifying. I mean, it's the scene that still is parodied to this day, with the shaking of the cup, the water, and then that perfect framing of the eye within the window of the door, just looking in. And again, this movie won effects for sound and sound effects editing. The T-Rex scream is perfect. Like, his growl is amazing. And the one thing I noticed about the T-Rex before you see that part is he's really slow. Like, I don't know where if he was trying to, like, sneak up on everybody and he was just, like, tiptoeing, but he's a couple 100 tons heavy and you just don't tiptoe when you're that size. Well, and he's like, but I would like to see him outside of the car just.
I noticed that, and the funny thing is they're like, oh no, we clocked the T-Rex at 32 miles per hour. Like, they say that in the movie.
Yeah.
Well, when he's in chase mode, but when he's in sneak mode, you get those steps that are 25 seconds apart.
the glasses of water. All right, I'm going to say this because I think this is important. The kids, which effectively play the exact same role in Jurassic World, there's an investment, though, within these scientists to keep these kids safe, even though they find them extremely annoying.
Yep.
And I don't know why this works so much better than they did in Jurassic World, because it's literally cut for it's exactly the same. It's the same exact stupid plot, except they're in giant balls instead of Jeeps. Oh my god, I hate the balls. This is there's a level of what the kids develop this characteristic of saying, like, these kids are extremely invested in the world of dinosaurs. Like, he read the one guy's book, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, enjoyed it. Like, and despite that kid annoying the crap out of him, like, this scientist has some endearment for this child. And you can see it because he's as fascinated about the dinosaurs as he is. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, it absolutely comes across where they have an arc. Sam Neill and Tim, the kid, have an arc where at the beginning he'll do anything not to sit next to him in the Jeep, and in the end he's got this whole father-son relationship with him. And I almost felt bad at certain times for Lex, the sister, because she's also there. Like, he's developing this care for the kid, but then she's there too, and they have to explain to her when they wake up in the tree and the Brontosaurus is there, like, Vegisaur, calm the fuck down. Like,
Vegisaurus.
But yeah, it made for comic relief. It's actually, now that you brought up the kids, David, it's one of the few nits I would pick with this movie. How they say at the beginning of the movie when she's walking into the main building, before anything is even thought to start going wrong. The descriptions of the two kids are, he's into dinosaurs and she's a hacker. And it gets forgotten.
Oh yeah, that was awful.
Movie.
That was garbage.
It forgot into the entire movie, and then in the end, it's not Sam Jackson, the engineer who's running the entire park. It's her who's gonna hack. Wayne Knight's system to get the locks turned back on.
Yeah, it's Unix. Oh my god, that scene is garbage.
I know this. It's like, yeah, you did this in 7th grade science class or computer class. Yeah, it's just terrible. So I'm wondering. So for me, my remaining notes are sort of all over the place. One is just that, as you said about Sam Neill developing the relationship with the kids, he develops himself as a character. This movie is about the dinosaurs, but at a certain point you realize, once he's saved their lives a couple times and then come back to save more people, and then being the man who says, I'll be the one to go out and do the next thing, that Sam Neill is essentially playing Indiana Jones here, right? He's got the hat and the hero mode fully turned on, right? But on top of that, I really like the dynamic, especially she calls it out at a certain point when Laura Dern decides she's going to go down to turn on the electrical breakers. She says to Richard Attenborough, like, you and I are going to have a talk later about sexism in life or death situations.
Yes.
Right? And she's going to go handle some shit. And I just think that's when the movie makes its great turn into being this adventure horror movie, because she goes down there, she's going to handle her business too, she's going to take some of the hero points. And then when the raptor comes after her in there and she finds Samuel L. Jackson's arm, the scene that jumped out, I'm wondering if you guys have any that you want to make sure we mention in this segment. The scene that jumps out of me that needs to be mentioned is her, after barely escaping the Velociraptor in the electrical room and coming up that stairwell and seeing Sam Neill for the first time in a long stretch of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
She says "run" in a way that I can't even describe. You talk about goosebumps, Sean, and the hair standing up in your arms. Like, it is terrifying. She is conveying her terror in a way that isn't done in a lot of the best abject horror movies.
Yep.
So I really love that scene. Was there anything for either you? We'll start with you, Sean. A scene that you feel needs to get mentioned here.
Yeah, on that same note, I'm so glad you brought that up. When the two kids they figure they're in the clear, everything's great. They're chowing down on the food that they spared no expense. Everything's amazing, and then the sister just stops and looks behind Timmy, and her eyes go wide, and she just starts shaking in that way that just like you're able to control what's happening. And he has that moment that this is a very contrived moment in a lot of movies, like, oh, is there a monster behind me? Like, what's behind me? Like, what do you look? But this one just came across. Her terror, I think, actually outmatches Laura Dern's in the scene that you mentioned earlier. Like, there's a fucking velociraptor behind you, but she doesn't have the vernacular for that. She hasn't developed it, you see, as a little girl. And then that scene goes into the kitchen, the stainless steel kitchen, and the chase scene that kind of happens there, the cat and mouse, or the velociraptor and child, and the fact that those, I don't know if we knew before going into this movie that it's just a common sense thing that velociraptors hunt in pairs or in packs, but the way that they introduced that and executed it all at the exact same time was so amazing. And they kind of nip at each other as they're getting in. They don't even have like the biggest teeth, but like they're just the little like clicking of their talons, their claws as they're searching for them. It is like these are kind of like mannerisms that Michael Myers or somebody would kind of like, the things that just the nothing moments that are truly, truly terrifying. That is my favorite scene, and that was when I realized that this movie has been a series of just incredible scenes. The T-Rex jumping through or breaking through the Jeep, and the kid's almost sinking into the mud, and Jeff Goldblum throwing the flare away. Like, all of that happens before this kitchen scene. It's not even fair. These all are iconic moments, and I love that the velociraptors can open doors. That's just, I don't even care how ridiculous that is. They're just so smart. They're so smart, Gary.
It was such a well-done device to say, oh, we're good so long as they don't open doors, and then they do, and it takes it to another level. So what about you, David? Is there something you feel needs to get mentioned in any discussion of Jurassic Park that jumped out at you?
I love it. I don't know why they made a sequel. I've never seen Jurassic: A Lost World, so I don't want to. I watched the trailer for that. So I get the idea is that they go to the island that was abandoned, which is a stupid idea. It's absolutely terrible. Jurassic Park though is fantastic, and as much as I give it a 4.5 out of 5 stars, right? Because somebody has to give
temper
something.
The love. We can't just watch this movie's balls for half an hour.
You can't just come in here and be like, I love this movie. It's the best. Every scene is perfect. No, it has a few flaws for somebody who obviously was not even a full year old when this movie came out.
Aww.
So I'll ask you then, we have to wrap this up. I had so much fun talking about this. I want to find out what we're going to watch next week, but to wrap up this Jurassic Park second, I'll ask you, David, then, what you thought of the super abrupt conclusion to this movie. So there's no denouement in this movie. Nobody beats the dinosaurs or implements some type of failsafe. They mention casually at a certain point that they'll all die without this certain protein or whatever. But no one is, in a movie like this, so often it's like, okay, the last thing we're going to do is we're going to, in a tacky version of this movie, they would have rigged up some type of A-bomb to stick in the skeleton of the old T-Rex and then throw a goat carcass in there so they can have some final victory. But in this case, the T-Rex arrives just in time to save the day. We don't even see the conclusion of that battle. He just occupies the raptors enough for them to make their escape. And then we're up in the helicopter, we're gone, and it's time for some credits. So I'm wondering what you thought of the ending.
The only thing there is one line in there that I think summarizes it up really well. And I guess after watching the Lost World trailer, this hurts my opinion, which is I guess the abrupt ending is the reason that I seeked out that trailer, right?
Yeah. It's a leave you wanting more thing?
Yeah, it was leaving you wanting more, but the question there is like there's one line and he says, I don't think it's essentially, paraphrasing here, but says like, I'm not going to sign off on your park. And he said,
there you go.
And the other guy says, neither am I.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, that's exactly how we should all feel at this moment, right? I think what it did well by not blowing up all the dinosaurs or not killing everything or whatever is set up the potential for like the fact that Jurassic Park could be revitalized, because the assumption here is, and it's not even just an assumption for me, they made the science believable, right?
Yeah,
so
it still exists in this world now.
Right. So like anybody could, somebody could stumble upon this, steal the technology, create a different Jurassic Park. Like there is so much potential here that I think blowing it all up and ruining it would have kind of been a little bit extreme, because what they created, arguably dangerous, it's amazing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that, it doesn't really it's not possible to take DNA from mosquitoes and create dinosaurs. But like it's an amazing idea and it should always be, used. And I think it's a realistic type ending.
Yeah, you're right.
And
that's what I was saying, is that by not having that movie trope where, like I say, we're going to end this with a big bang and a victory for the humans over the race of dinosaurs is I think you just put it succinctly there in a good way, which is it's more true to what would happen in a real life instance. It is. Yeah. It's continuing the theme that this movie started at the beginning, which is we're going to give you at least a level of plausibility of come along with us in this world and we'll treat it with respect. We're not going to make it completely fantastic.
Right. It's absurd. The rules are a little bit crazy, but we're going to keep you believing it all the way through, and that means the ending has to be believable as well.
There you go. We're going to try and stay in our lane. So is there anything else you wanted to add, Sean, for Jurassic Park?
No, I love the banner that flies in front of the T-Rex. I love the escape.
Yes.
I love Jeff Goldblum. This movie is incredible. The one knock I didn't mention is that I feel like Sam Neill actually overacts in most of it, but I will leave it at that. I think I was so glad that we watched this movie again.
I was fantastic. I'm so glad. Thank you to whoever suggested it last week. Yep. I don't think we spent enough time, you're right, on individual performances, because Goldblum was an absolute treat every time he was on screen. And Wayne Knight actually did a fantastic job as the smarmy piece of garbage.
Of course.
That acted as the catalyst for all the things going wrong. So
yep.
But he truly just is Newman. I don't know if I've ever seen him in anything else.
And not thought Newman, yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
So again, thanks to whoever suggested Jurassic Park last week. This is why we do this segment. This is why I love this show so much, is that we get to do this. And that being said, we get to do it all over again. We got Twitter suggestions to the fan group on Facebook for the We the Nerdy fan group. We've got Facebook suggestions. Sean, take us into next week's 6 DOC entrant, please.
Let's do it. We had so many suggestions, so thank you guys so much. The best place to do it is at the We the Nerdy fan group page, facebook.com/groups/We the Nerdy fan group. And that's where we had suggestions from Blair Hamilton, Chelsea Capri, Brian McCutcheon, Peter Freese. Who the heck else did we have? Gary, you're in here too, but that's okay. You didn't win. Thane Tingley, James Burrell. Holy crap. We actually had a Howard the Duck recommendation from Thane and not from our good friend Corey. What else? Thane also had 3,000 Miles to Graceland, Dr. Doolittle from Peter, a whole bunch of Jurassic Park world, Jurassic Park 2. Do you guys want to comment on the whole Jurassic, like maintaining the same series or not? Is that something we want to talk about today?
I think Dave and I are on the same page that while I would love to watch Jurassic Park movies in the future, and I had so much fun doing this one, we noticed with the diehards that we don't need to do for 6 Degrees of Chill a sequel right after we've done another entrant in that same series. Yeah, I wouldn't want to. I want to see a Harry Potter movie, but not 8 in a row.
Yeah.
Leave it in there. It can come up in a month. That'll be fine.
Okay, well, we still did our random pickings, and it actually didn't come up, even though a few of you had your chances doubled by sharing or retweeting. I think Chelsea, Brian, and Thane all shared. So you guys had a number of chances for at least a Jurassic Park movie. But ultimately, Blair Hamilton is the winner with an excellent movie in The Social Network. Timmy grew up after getting electrocuted off of the fence, and he is in the Facebook story. So I cannot wait to watch this movie.
We have to watch The Social Network?
No, you don't have to come back.
Oh my goodness, really? Someone who doesn't love The Social Network?
Nope, we're going back to our two-person format next week, or Thane's coming back. I don't know. We'll figure out a way you don't have to watch this, Dave. It's okay. We'll talk later.
Well, I will say...
Just because I gave Jurassic Park a 4.5 out of 5, I'm not allowed back.
I'm a spiteful man.
Everybody, be careful coming to the show. You have to agree with Sean, or you're kicked off. That's how this works.
Jesus, don't start
Apparently,
that.
Sean's running a dictatorship. Yeah. Well, I'm super excited. Thank you to Blair. I love David Fincher. I love Trent Reznor's soundtracks.
Mm-hmm.
I love Aaron Sorkin. I love
The Color Blue.
I love Jesse Eisenberg, but he's doing well. I love Armie Hammer, though. He's a stud. And Rooney Mara, and almost everything about The Social Network. So I can't wait to talk about this. I'm so excited to watch this one. I think I'm going to have the movie theater up again with my Blu-ray copy. Super excited to watch The Social Network. So with that, I want to say thank you to everybody for being patient with us and sticking around for this week's episode. I'm excited. We're going to watch The Social Network. We have to pick a new movie to go see next week as well, which we haven't done yet. There's some new things coming out next week, including the comedy that I think the three of us would be most interested in seeing if it was just us going out to a movie together, which is Office Christmas Party.
Yeah.
Which, okay, Sean.
Yeah.
We know
Dave.
It's not going to be good.
I'm okay with that.
We know it's going to be fun.
Yes, and it should be fun. So I'm curious, do we just want to say we're going to go to Office Christmas Party, or do we want to go see Tom Ford's psychological thriller starring Jake Gyllenhaal and Amy Adams and Isla Fisher and Michael Shannon? Do we want to flip the coin, or do we just want to say Office Christmas Party it is?
I'll tell you what my vote is.
Go ahead, David.
Let's let Sean pick, because then maybe he'll go.
Oh, but I like this whole dynamic.
Oh, we want to get Sean going back to the theater.
God, I actually have some Costco tickets. It'll be fine. It'll just relax. I actually like this. If this is what's happening in the audience, and I'm actually liking that, like, you guys want something to happen, I'm just withholding it, and we'll see. Maybe one day I will be back at the. No, I don't know. I am totally at a toss-up here. I am excited to see Office Christmas Party, but I'm discouraged by the Rotten Tomatoes early scores. Miss Sloane was another one that looked great. Gary, flip the coin. Flip the coin.
Yeah.
Okay, we're
Heads-
flipping away. We're going to do Nocturnal Animals. Or
Heads
Office
for...
Christmas Party.
Yeah. Go. You
Heads
go.
for what, Sean? Go ahead.
Office Christmas Party.
Okay, here we go. We got the coin flipping app, and it came up heads. Office Christmas Party it is, which will be a good dynamic. I realized as it was spinning, please be Office Christmas Party, because I think Nocturnal Animals and The Social Network would be a dour and heavy episode. So we get a comedy and a long, thoughtful drama as well. So a little business.
Thoughtful?
Oh, I can't wait to talk about this. I hope you come back. To hell with Sean. I hope you come back next week, David, because I can't wait to talk about this. I love people who disagree with my opinions of movies. It's what makes this show great. So, in an effort to wrap this whole thing up, I will say thank you again to everybody who contributed to 6 Degrees of Chill. Everybody who's subscribing and telling their friends and giving us ratings on iTunes. You guys are the best. It's the reason this show keeps growing. We thank you so much for coming along with us. I want you to remember to follow me at Gary T Movies on Twitter. Follow Sean at Sean Capri. Sean like the Connery, Capri like the pants. Dave's at Dayspace, DACESPACE. He spells it fast because he says it a lot. I don't say it ever, but I try and spell it as fast as he. And also, please remember our benefactors. The site itself, WeTheNerdy.com, is just doing so much fantastic stuff. And I know you're just starting to put feelers out for end-of-year stuff, which is always great from the site, Sean. Tell us a little bit of what's going on at We the Nerdy right now.
Oh, we are going to be doing our Game of the Year awards for the overall game, and then a PlayStation Game of the Year, Xbox Game of the Year, Wii I guess, or Nintendo Game of the Year, because that's kind of a weird situation over there. So yeah, we're having all the writers kind of cast their votes right now. They've got a few weeks left to play what's left there. And first week of January, we're going to start revealing our nominees and then award our prestigious We the Nerdy Game of the Year second week of January. So that is kind of some behind the scenes work as we close out this calendar year, Gary. I can't believe it.
Yeah, so awesome. And like I say, remember to go check out the site. So much great stuff going on there all the time. Again, thank you so much to our guest / new co-host, Dave, for coming out with us today. I know you've got a ton of podcasts coming out all the time. What do you got going on this week that people can go check out?
Of course, you can always check out Shelved and Forgotten, my new show with John Beeler over at dayspace.com. DACESPACE. iTunes, it's everywhere you can get your podcasts like this show. I do Character Crunch, where we talk about movies and comic books and TV shows all the time with my best friend Jeff. I do a rhythm gaming podcast if you like Rock Band and Guitar Hero called Living Room Clutter.
Amazing.
That comes out. Those shows come out every single week. So go check those out if you guys would like those things.
Absolutely. Go check that stuff out over at dayspace.com. And thank you again for coming. Thank you, Sean, for putting this all together and making this show what it is. Thank you guys for listening, and we'll talk to you next Friday, we promise.
I love that every show ends in an Oscar speech thank yous, and other than that, I love you. Dave, are you going to say it with me again this week? I love you. We can touch pitches. I love you.
I would, but Skype is bad.